Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of his research ship, watching the dark ocean stretch endlessly in all directions. The Poseidon's Eye had been sailing for 3 days, heading to a spot where mining companies wanted to dig for rare metals, on the seafloor. Dae-ho had done this kind of work many times before, but something felt different today. "Captain, we're reaching the target zone," called out his navigator. The young man looked nervous, though Dae-ho couldn't understand why. It was just another mapping job. Dr. Hae-won Park walked onto the bridge, carrying a tablet full of data. She was the ship's lead scientist, and one of the smartest people Dae-ho had ever worked with. "The sonar readings are strange," she said, showing him the screen. "Look at these patterns." Dae-ho studied the images. Instead of the usual bumpy ocean floor, he saw perfectly straight lines and geometric shapes. The patterns went on for kilometers, far too organized to be natural. "That can't be right," he said. "Run the scan again." 20 minutes later, the new scan showed the same thing. Dr. Park looked worried. "These structures are massive," she said. "Some of them are over a kilometer long. And they're all connected, like someone built a huge city down there." "That's impossible," Dae-ho said. "We're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The water here is 6 kilometers deep. Nobody could build anything that far down, but the evidence was right in front of them. The sonar showed buildings, roads, and what looked like enormous hangars. Everything was too perfect, too planned to be a natural formation." Dr. Park prepared the deep-sea probe, a small submarine with cameras and sensors. "I'm sending it down to get a closer look," she said. The probe would take 2 hours to reach the bottom, but it was their only way to see what was really down there. As they waited, more strange readings appeared on their instruments. There were heat signatures coming from the structures below, and their magnetic sensors were going crazy. "Something is generating a lot of energy down there," Dr. Park said. When the probe finally reached the sea floor, everyone crowded around the monitor to see the live video feed. What they saw made them all gasp in shock. The ocean floor was covered with massive metal structures that gleamed in the probe's lights. These weren't ruins or natural formations. They were clearly built by intelligent beings, with smooth surfaces and complex designs. But the most shocking thing was the symbols carved into the metal. "Those are human symbols," whispered Dr. Park. "But that's impossible. Humans have only been traveling in space for 50 years. We couldn't have built this." The probe moved forward, and they saw more incredible sights. There were huge doors built into underwater mountains, and what looked like landing pads for enormous ships. Everything was on a scale that made human cities look tiny. Suddenly, the probe's lights reflected off something moving in the distance. A sleek, dark shape glided silently through the water toward them. It was clearly a ship, but unlike anything in the human fleet. This vessel was at least 3 times larger than Dae-ho's research ship, with a design that looked both advanced and somehow familiar. "Cut the probe's engines," Dae-ho ordered quietly. "Let it drift." The unknown ship approached slowly, its hull covered in the same symbols they had seen on the structures below. As it got closer, powerful lights illuminated the probe, and they could see that the ship's design was definitely human in origin, but far more advanced than anything they knew existed. Dr. Park was studying her instruments with growing amazement. "Captain, this ship is using technology we've never seen before. Its energy output is incredible, and I'm not detecting any traditional engines. It's like it's moving through the water without any resistance at all." A new voice came through their radio, speaking clear Korean. "Research vessel Poseidon's Eye, you have entered restricted waters. Please surface your probe immediately." Dae-ho and his crew looked at each other in shock. How did anyone know they were here? And who was giving them orders in the middle of the ocean? "This is Captain Kim of the Poseidon's Eye," he radioed back. "Who am I speaking to?" "Commander Tae-jin." "Cho of the Deep Fleet," came the reply. "We need to talk." Before Dae-ho could respond, his radar operator called out in excitement. "Captain, multiple contacts rising from the deep. I count at least 20 large vessels approaching from below." Through the bridge windows, they could see lights moving upward through the dark water. One by one, massive ships broke the surface around them. Each one was larger than any military vessel Dae-ho had ever seen, with designs that were clearly human but incredibly advanced. Commander Tae-jin's ship surfaced directly in front of them. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, with a hull that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. A small boat was lowered from the mysterious ship, and several people in uniforms approached the Poseidon's Eye. Minutes later, Commander Taejin Cho stepped onto Daeho's bridge. He was a man in his 40s, with calm eyes and the bearing of someone used to command. Behind him came two officers, both looking serious but not threatening. "Captain Kim, Dr. Park," Commander Taejin said with a slight bow. "I apologize for the dramatic introduction, but you have discovered something that was meant to remain hidden." "What is all this?" Dr. Park asked, gesturing toward the ships surrounding them. Commander Taejin looked out at the vessels, then back at them. "This is humanity's real fleet," he said quietly. "What you see here is just a tiny fraction of our true military power." Daeho felt his world spinning. "That's impossible. Humans only have a few hundred ships in space. We're considered one of the weakest species in the galaxy." "That's what we want everyone to think," Commander Taejin replied. "The truth is, humanity has been preparing for this day for over a century. What you've discovered is our home base, built in the deepest parts of Earth's oceans where no alien sensors can detect us." He walked to the window and pointed down at the water. 6 kilometers below us is New Seoul, a city of 50 million people. Around it are the shipyards where we build our fleet, and that fleet, Captain Kim, numbers over 1 million vessels. The bridge was completely silent as everyone tried to process this information. 1 million ships, Dr. Park whispered. Commander Taejin nodded gravely, and very soon, the galaxy is going to need every single one of them. 3 hours later, Captain Daeho Kim found himself in the most incredible place he had ever seen. The submersible carrying him and Dr. Haewon Park descended through the dark waters, following Commander Taejin Cho's vessel toward the ocean floor. "I still can't believe this is real," Dr. Park whispered, pressing her face against the small window. Outside, they could see massive structures growing larger as they descended. Commander Taejin's voice came through the intercom. "Welcome to New Seoul, the first and largest of our underwater cities." As they reached the sea floor, powerful lights illuminated an impossible sight. Stretching out in all directions was a city that looked like something from a dream. Tall towers rose from the ocean floor, connected by transparent tubes that allowed people to walk between buildings. The whole city was covered by a massive dome that kept the water out, and inside the dome, Daeho could see trees, parks, and normal-looking streets. "How long has this been here?" he asked in amazement. "Construction began 90 years ago, Commander," Taejin replied. "It took us 40 years just to build the basic structure, and we've been expanding ever since. Their submersible docked at an airlock, and soon they were breathing normal air inside the underwater city. A woman in her 50s was waiting for them. She had kind eyes, but carried herself like someone used to making important decisions. "This is Director Ye-Jin Han," Commander Taejin said. "She's been in charge of this project since the beginning." Director Han shook their hands warmly. "Captain Kim, Dr. Park, I know this must be overwhelming. Let me explain how we got here." She led them through corridors that looked like those in any modern city, except for the occasional window showing the dark ocean outside. 90 years ago, our best scientists realized something important," she began. "Humans had just developed nuclear weapons, and we knew that eventually we would meet alien civilizations. Most of those aliens would probably be more advanced than us." They entered an elevator that took them up through one of the tall towers. "Our leaders faced a choice," Director Han continued. "We could try to compete directly with advanced aliens, which we would probably lose, or we could be smarter about it." The elevator stopped, and they walked onto an observation deck with a stunning view of the entire underwater city. Daeho could see millions of lights spread out across the ocean floor, representing homes, businesses, and facilities. "So we chose to hide," Director Han said. "We would let the aliens think humans were weak and primitive, while secretly building the most advanced civilization possible." Dr. Park was studying the city through binoculars. "This must have cost trillions of dollars. How did you keep it secret?" "Very carefully," Director Han smiled. "We told people on the surface that we were doing deep-sea mining and research. Every year we brought more supplies and people down here. Families were told their relatives had died in accidents, when actually they had come to live in our underwater cities." A new voice joined their conversation. And the technology we developed here changed everything. They turned to see a younger woman approaching. She wore the uniform of an engineer and had oil stains on her hands from working on machinery. "This is Engineer So-Young Kang," Director Han said. "She designed most of our fleet's advanced systems." Engineer Kang led them to a nearby building that turned out to be a massive laboratory. Inside, scientists worked on devices that looked far more advanced than anything Daeho had seen on the surface. The key was energy, Engineer Kang explained, showing them a device the size of a briefcase. "This fusion generator produces more power than a nuclear plant on the surface, but it's completely clean and safe." She walked over to another device. "And this is our artificial gravity system. It lets our ships move through water or space without any resistance." Dr. Park examined the technology with growing excitement. "This is incredible. You've solved problems that surface scientists said were impossible." "We had advantages," Engineer Kang admitted. "First, we found some very old artifacts buried in the ocean floor. They weren't made by humans, and studying them gave us insights into advanced physics. Second, we had the smartest people from all over the world working together without any political interference. Commander Tae-jin joined them again. Would you like to see the shipyards?" They took another submersible to a different part of the underwater complex. What they saw there made the city seem small by comparison. Enormous chambers carved into underwater mountains housed the largest construction facilities Daeho had ever imagined. In each chamber, workers were building ships that dwarfed anything in the official human fleet. "Each ship takes 2 years to build," Commander Tae-jin explained as they watched workers assembling a vessel over a kilometer long. "They're designed specifically to fight the kind of wars we expect to face against advanced alien civilizations." A gray-haired man in a captain's uniform approached them. Commander Tae-jin introduced him as Captain Jinwoo Bae, one of the first people to join the underwater project. "I remember when this was all just empty ocean floor," Captain Jinwoo said, looking around at the massive construction facility. "We started with a few small submarines and a dream of protecting humanity's future." He led them to a viewing platform where they could see the full scale of the operation. Hundreds of ships in various stages of construction filled the enormous chambers. Some were small and sleek, designed for reconnaissance. Others were massive battle cruisers armed with weapons that gleamed with unknown energy. "Every ship is invisible to standard galactic sensors," Captain Jinwoo explained. "We've been testing them against alien technology for years, and they simply can't detect us." Dr. Park asked the question that had been bothering her. "If you have all this, why keep it secret? Why let aliens think we're weak?" Director Han, who had joined them on the platform, looked serious. "Because the galaxy is more dangerous than most people realize. There are civilizations out there that destroy entire species just because they might become competitors someday." She pointed to a display showing a map of known space. "The Vorthon Empire controls over 1,000 star systems. They have fleets of 10,000 ships each, and they've wiped out dozens of species. If they knew what we really had, they would attack us immediately with everything they possess." Engineer So-Young nodded. "But if they think we're harmless, they ignore us. Meanwhile, we gather intelligence, study their technology, and prepare for the day when we can't hide anymore." Commander Tae-jin checked his communications device. "Speaking of which, that day might be coming sooner than we planned. I just received word from our agents in the Galactic Coalition. The Vorthon Empire is mobilizing their entire fleet." "Director." Han's expression became grim. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 6 months before they issue their final ultimatum to the Coalition," Commander Tae-jin replied. "After that, it will be surrender or total war." Captain Jinwoo looked out at the ships being constructed around them. "Then we need to accelerate production. How many vessels can we have ready for combat?" Engineer So-Young was already calculating on her tablet. "If we push our facilities to maximum capacity and pull ships from our exploration fleets, we can field approximately 1 million combat vessels." The number hung in the air like thunder. Daeho finally found his voice. 1 million ships against the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Director Han looked at him with calm confidence. "Captain Kim, those aliens have never fought humans who were truly prepared for war. They're about to learn what happens when you threaten a species that has spent a century getting ready for this moment." 6 months later, the Galactic Coalition Council chamber buzzed with fear and anger. Representatives from dozens of alien species filled the curved seats, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. At the center podium stood a tall, gray-skinned Vorthan officer delivering an ultimatum that would change the galaxy forever. The Vorthan Empire demands the immediate surrender of the Kepler, Vega, and Centauri systems, the officer announced in a voice that echoed through the chamber. Any species that refuses will be considered enemies of the Empire and dealt with accordingly. Counselor Hyun-Soo Nam sat in Earth's small section, wearing the same expression of worried helplessness as the other minor species representatives. Inside, however, his mind was racing through carefully rehearsed plans that had been decades in the making. The Alteran delegate, whose blue skin had turned pale with fear, stood up. "The systems you demand contain our most important colonies. Billions of lives depend on those worlds." "That is not our concern," the Vorthan replied coldly. "You have 30 days to evacuate, or we will evacuate them for you." Angry shouts erupted from around the chamber. The Coalition's strongest military species, the Drakmari, slammed his clawed fist on his desk. "This is an act of war against the entire Coalition." "War?" The Vorthan officer seemed amused. "You have 15,000 ships between all your species combined. The Empire has deployed 50,000 vessels to this sector alone. This is not war. This is pest control." Counselor Hyun-Soo felt his hidden communication device vibrate with an urgent message from Earth. He glanced at it discreetly. "Stealth fleet in position. Enemy strength confirmed. Proceed with Diplomatic Protocol 7. Standing slowly, Counselor Hyun-Soo raised his hand for permission to speak. Many of the alien representatives looked at him with sympathy, expecting humanity's representative to beg for mercy. Like the other minor species, the human government would like to offer our support to the Coalition in this difficult time, he said in a voice that sounded nervous and uncertain. The Vorthan officer looked down at him dismissively. "And what exactly can your primitive species contribute? Your entire fleet consists of 200 outdated vessels that would not last 5 minutes against our scouts." "We know our contribution is small," Counselor Hyun-Soo replied, playing his role perfectly. "But humanity believes in standing with our friends no matter the odds." Several alien delegates nodded approvingly at this show of loyalty, even if it was militarily useless. The Vorthan officer simply laughed. "How touching. Very well. Humans can join your Coalition friends in defeat. It makes no difference to us." As the formal session ended, Counselor Hyun-Soo made his way through the corridors, stopping to speak with various delegates. To anyone watching, he appeared to be desperately trying to organize some kind of resistance with the other minor species. In reality, he was delivering coded messages that had been prepared months ago. That evening, in the private quarters assigned to Earth's diplomatic mission, Counselor Hyun-Soo activated a secure communication link that connected him directly to the underwater cities on Earth. The holographic image of Director Ye-Jin Han appeared in front of him. "The ultimatum has been delivered," he reported. 30 days, just as our intelligence predicted." Director Han nodded grimly. "And the Coalition's response?" "Complete panic. The Drakmari are talking about a suicide attack on the Vorthan home system. The Alterans want to negotiate. Everyone else is trying to figure out how to run away fast enough." "What about our official fleet?" Counselor Hyun-Soo allowed himself a small smile. "Captain Yeon-hee's ships are performing exactly as expected. The aliens think our technology is 50 years behind everyone else's. They have no idea that those outdated vessels are actually equipped with our latest stealth and intelligence gathering systems." Thousands of light years away, Captain Yoon Ji-yoon was proving just how wrong the aliens were about human capabilities. Her ship, the Silent Current, hung motionless in space just outside the Vorthan fleet's sensor range. To any scanning equipment, it appeared to be nothing more than a small asteroid. Inside the ship, her crew monitored every communication, analyzed every vessel, and recorded detailed information about Vorthan military tactics. They had been doing this for 3 years, and the aliens had never detected them once. "Captain," her communications officer called quietly, "we're receiving data from the other stealth ships. The Vorthan fleet is even larger than we thought." Captain Yunji studied the incoming reports on her main screen. Red dots representing enemy ships filled the display in frightening numbers. How many total? 63,000 combat vessels plus support ships. But there's something else. Our sensors are detecting a new type of Vorthon weapons system. It appears to be some kind of planet-killing device. This was exactly the kind of information the Underwater Command needed. Captain Yunji ordered her crew to compile everything they had learned and prepare for immediate transmission to Earth. Back in the underwater city of New Seoul, General Chang Min-oh stood in the main strategy center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of fleets throughout the galaxy. He was humanity's top military strategist, and he had been planning this moment for 30 years. The Vorthon Empire is making the same mistake they always make, he explained to the assembled commanders. They rely on overwhelming numbers and superior firepower, but they don't adapt their tactics to individual enemies. Admiral Bo-Ram Lee, who had been secretly coordinating with the surface governments, joined the briefing. Our intelligence teams have identified their main weaknesses. Their ships are heavily armored but slow to maneuver. Their weapons are powerful but take a long time to recharge. Most importantly, they've never fought an enemy that could match their technology. General Chang Min activated a new display showing detailed battle plans. Our million-ship fleet has been specifically designed to counter every Vorthon advantage. Our vessels are faster, more maneuverable, and equipped with weapons that can penetrate their armor. One of the younger commanders raised her hand. General, what about their numerical advantage? Even with 1,000,000 ships, they still outnumber us. Numbers don't matter when your enemy can't see you coming, General Chang Min replied. Our entire fleet is equipped with perfect stealth technology. We can position our ships exactly where we want them before the battle even begins. He brought up another display showing the planned attack formation. We'll let them think they're facing only the Coalition's official fleets. When they move in for what they expect to be an easy victory, our ships will rise from the oceans of Earth and strike before they know what's happening. Admiral Bo-Ram studied the timeline. How long do we need to get everyone in position? 2 weeks, General Chang Min answered. The beauty of our ocean-based launch system is that we can deploy our entire fleet simultaneously. One moment, the galaxy will think Earth has 200 obsolete ships, and the next moment they'll see 1,000,000 of the most advanced vessels ever built. The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the magnitude of what they were planning. Director Ye Jin Han's voice came through the communication system. All commanders, we have just received confirmation that the Vorthon Empire has rejected all diplomatic solutions. They are demanding complete surrender from the Coalition. General Chang Min looked around at his officers. Then it's time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity. He activated the fleet-wide communication system that would reach every human ship, both on the surface and hidden in the depths. All units, this is General O. Operation Deep Strike is now active. Begin final preparations for fleet deployment. In 2 weeks, the galaxy will learn that Earth's children have grown up. The battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy began on a quiet Tuesday morning. Above Earth's orbit, the small human fleet of 200 ships took their position alongside vessels from dozens of other Coalition species. To any observer, they looked pitifully outmatched against the massive Vorthon armada approaching through space. Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun Lim stood on the bridge of his flagship, 6 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean's surface. Around him, his command staff monitored displays showing the positions of both fleets above. In just a few minutes, he would give an order that would change galactic history forever. Admiral, the surface fleet reports they are in position, announced his communications officer. Coalition forces are maintaining their defensive formation. Through the underwater city's massive viewing windows, Admiral Dong Hyun could see the launch bays where nearly 1,000,000 ships waited in perfect readiness. Each vessel was crewed and armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Signal from Captain Ne Young Seo, another officer reported. First Strike Division reports all systems ready. Captain Ne Young commanded 300 of humanity's most advanced attack ships hidden in launch tubes that stretched deep into the ocean floor. Her ships would be among the first to surface, and their opening attack would announce humanity's true power to the galaxy. Admiral Dong Hyun watched his main display as the Vorthon fleet moved into attack position above Earth. Their ships formed a threatening wall of metal and firepower that stretched across space. Any normal enemy would surrender immediately when faced with such overwhelming force. Admiral, his tactical officer said quietly. "The Vorthons are beginning their attack run on the Coalition fleet." On the surface, Counselor Hyun-Soo Nam stood on the bridge of the Coalition command ship, surrounded by alien officers who looked terrified but determined to fight. The massive Vorthon fleet was approaching, their weapons charging with energy that could be seen even from this distance. "Human vessels, fall back to the second line," ordered the Coalition fleet commander, a Drakmari general whose scales were turning dark with stress. "Your ships are not equipped for direct combat with Vorthon battle cruisers." "Understood," Counselor Hyun-Soo replied calmly. He was actually relieved to pull the surface fleet back, since it would give him a better view of what was about to happen. The first Vorthon energy beams lashed out across space, striking Coalition ships with devastating effect. 3 vessels exploded immediately, their crews having no time to escape. The aliens had superior weapons, better armor, and overwhelming numbers. This should have been a massacre. Deep beneath the ocean, Admiral Dong-hyun received the signal he had been waiting for his entire career. "All stations, this is Fleet Command," he announced over the communications system that reached every human ship hidden in Earth's waters. "The enemy has committed to battle. Execute Operation Rising Storm." He paused for a moment, thinking about all the years of preparation that had led to this moment. Surface the fleet. What happened next had never been seen before in galactic history. Earth's oceans began to churn and bubble as if the planet itself was coming alive. From the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, and Arctic oceans, massive shapes began rising toward the surface. The water displaced by their emergence created waves that could be seen from orbit. Captain Na Young-seo felt her stomach lurch as her ship, the Wave Rider, shot upward through 6 kilometers of water in less than 30 seconds. Around her, 299 other ships rose in perfect formation, their advanced engines turning the surrounding water into clouds of steam. "First Strike Division, surface achieved," she reported as her ship broke through into open air. "All vessels, report ready for combat." But the First Strike Division was just the beginning. Across all of Earth's oceans, launch tubes that had been hidden for decades opened like giant flowers. Ship after ship rose from the depths, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor that reflected the sunlight like mirrors. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, designed specifically to fight enemies like the Vorthons. Commander Woo Jin Park piloted the largest ship of all, the flagship Leviathan's Wake. His vessel was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. As it surfaced in the middle of the Pacific, the water displacement created a temporary tsunami that rushed outward in all directions. "Fleet Admiral, this is Leviathan's Wake," he reported. "Flagship is operational and ready for combat." Within 10 minutes, nearly 1 million human ships had risen from Earth's oceans and taken position in space around the planet. The sight was so incredible that both the Coalition and Vorthon fleets stopped fighting just to stare in amazement. The Vorthon Fleet Commander Admiral Thek Moore watched his display screens in complete confusion as more and more human ships appeared. "This is impossible," he muttered. "Our intelligence report said the humans had only 200 vessels." His tactical officer was frantically trying to count the new contacts. "Sir, I'm reading over 900,000 human ships. Their energy signatures are. They're more advanced than anything in our database." Admiral Thekmore had conquered 12 star systems and destroyed 6 different species. He had never encountered an enemy that could surprise him like this. "All ships, focus fire on the human fleet. Destroy them immediately." The Vorthon Armada turned its weapons toward the newly surfaced human ships and fired with everything they had. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward their targets. Captain Na Young smiled as the enemy fire approached her division. "All ships, activate defensive screens and return fire." The Vorthon weapons struck what appeared to be empty space several hundred meters in front of the human ships. The energy beams simply disappeared, absorbed by invisible barriers that the aliens couldn't even detect. "Impossible," Admiral Thekmore shouted. "Nothing can stop our plasma cannons." Captain Na Young's response came in the form of her ship's main weapon, a quantum disruptor that fired a beam of pure energy. The beam passed through the Vorthon flagship's shields as if they didn't exist and cut the massive enemy vessel in half. All across the battlefield, the human fleet opened fire with weapons that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. Gravity bombs that crushed enemy ships into tiny balls of metal, energy weapons that phased through any armor, missiles that could track their targets across multiple star systems. Commander Wu Jin piloted the Leviathan's wake directly toward the largest group of Vorthon ships. His massive vessel flew through their formation like a knife through paper, its weapons destroying dozens of enemy ships with each shot. "This is impossible," Admiral Thekmore broadcast on all frequencies, his voice filled with panic. "How do the humans have technology like this?" Admiral Dong Hyun answered personally from his flagship's bridge. "We had a century to prepare for this moment, Admiral. We've been studying your tactics, your technology, and your weaknesses for longer than you've been alive." The human fleet moved through the Vorthon armada like a force of nature. Ships that had been hidden beneath Earth's oceans for decades finally showed their true purpose. Every vessel was designed to counter specific Vorthon capabilities, and the results were devastating. Within 2 hours, the most powerful military force in galactic history had been completely destroyed. Of the 63,000 Vorthon ships that had entered the battle, fewer than 1,000 managed to escape. As the last enemy vessels fled into hyperspace, the human fleet took position around Earth like a protective shell. The other coalition species, who had expected to die in a hopeless battle, found themselves staring at their human allies with a mixture of gratitude and fear. Counselor Hyun Soo opened a communication channel to address the entire galaxy. "This is Earth to all coalition forces and any remaining Vorthon vessels," he announced calmly. "Humanity extends an offer of peace to all species who wish to coexist peacefully in the galaxy. However, any civilization that threatens innocent lives will face the consequences you have just witnessed. The galaxy would never be the same again." 3 months after the battle that shocked the galaxy, Ambassador Ki Tai-jung walked through the corridors of what had once been the Coalition Council building. Now it served as the temporary headquarters for the new Galactic Peace Authority, with Earth as its reluctant but necessary center of power. The transformation had not been easy. Many alien species felt betrayed by humanity's deception, while others worried about living under the protection of beings who had hidden such incredible power for so long. Kitei's job was to rebuild trust while ensuring that the galaxy remained peaceful. "Ambassador," called out Dr. Sun-Hee Choi as she approached with a tablet full of reports. "The Centaurian delegation is here for the technology-sharing meeting, and the Alteran medical team wants to discuss the new healing devices we've developed." Kitei nodded, still amazed by how much his life had changed. 3 months ago, he had been a simple diplomatic attaché. Now he was humanity's chief representative. In reshaping galactic civilization, how are the former Vorthon territories adapting to self-governance? He asked, as they walked toward the main conference room. "Better than expected," Dr. Sun-Hee replied. "Most of their subject species are grateful to be free. The few Vorthon colonies that surrendered peacefully are actually requesting to join our protection sphere." The meeting room contained representatives from dozens of species, all working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. The Drakmari, whose warrior culture had once made them natural rivals to humans, were now eagerly learning about human military organization. The peaceful Alterans were sharing their medical knowledge in exchange for human energy technology. "The biggest challenge," Kitei explained to the assembled delegates, "is making sure that our technology benefits everyone without creating new imbalances of power." A tall, blue-skinned Alteran raised her hand. "Ambassador Jung, many of my people are concerned about becoming dependent on human technology. How can we maintain our independence while accepting your help?" Kitei had heard this question many times. "Dr. Choi, would you explain our approach?" Dr. Sun-Hee stood and activated a holographic display showing various technological systems. "We're not giving away our most advanced weapons or defense systems," she said. "Instead, we're sharing technologies that improve quality of life, better medical equipment, cleaner energy sources, more efficient food production." She pointed to an image of a small device. "This fusion generator, for example, can power a city without any pollution or danger. It's advanced enough to solve your energy problems, but simple enough that your own scientists can understand and maintain it." The Alteran delegate looked relieved. So we won't become helpless if relations between our species change in the future? Exactly.